a lot of people used to be discovered back in the day where they was already making the stuff they love. I think James Brown was like that. He was already making the kind of music he liked. He didn't give a doggone if somebody else liked him or not. He found a producer who basically just wanted to put his stuff out there and make some money because he had an audience that was underserved. I think nowadays the audiences, there's no underserved audiences. So now we get a lot of people who just, you don't get those grassroots really, really good. You don't get the James Brown. I think James Brown was coming up today, he would be undiscovered. Maybe even Stevie Wonder too. I think so. Because the songs don't edify. They don't build nothing. They're not, and I think these guys was true to form. They basically wrote their own songs. They scored their own music. There is only a handful of people nowadays that actually write their stuff. And a lot of people are writing stuff for other people that don't even deserve it. I mean, I hear them singing somebody else's song. I know that this person's Nicki Minaj is making somebody's song. I know it. But why are you writing a song for this person? They don't even have enough talent to really pull it off right, but they paid somebody. There's somebody backing them with the money. And you want that money. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't help somebody. It's a reason sometimes people want to be somebody's friend. Not necessarily because you're the most sweetest person that they want to love, because you can help them. But I think you got to look at something. You don't want to look at everything from a political point of view, but I think at some point you do have to say, am I edifying my constituency, the people who really like my music? Am I helping those people at all? Or am I just out here making some money? Which one am I doing? And I think too often it comes down to the latter. People are just out there making money. And it's turned into that. A lot of stuff. And I think nowadays with this coronavirus, you get a lot of people that they let's keep the billionaires with plenty of money to keep these corporations open. And of course, now that Trump is elected, we had all this clean air now. Now we got pollution everywhere. I mean, pollution's all going off out the pipes, all in the smokestacks. Now, there used to be a time when you went to cross the the Walt Whitman Bridge going over to Philadelphia or the New Jersey Turnpike. The smoke was so bad, as soon as you enter that area, you're in your car with the windows up. You was like coughing and gagging. Yes, that used to be a time there. Some of you guys that were not driving don't even have a clue. And now we elected somebody who just turned all that back on after it took years, literally years, to change the law so people couldn't do that to, most of the time, poor people that lived in those neighborhoods near those, who just didn't have the money to move away. When that stuff was happening with the Native Americans, how many of us went out there to Standing Rock to say, you're not going to do this to them. You're not going to jack up their land like this. You're not going to run these nasty oil pipes, fracking pipes, or whatever they were, through this area. They don't want it. The people don't want it. It's jacking up everything. I think that's what's happening with this coronavirus. I think the planet's saying enough is enough. These people are jacking me up. They messed up the ozone. They're cutting all my trees down. My antibodies is out. I think a virus is nothing but antibodies. And it attacks the other organism that is causing the problem. And right now, we are the virus. Human beings are the virus. We are the virus. We think of ourselves as a high form. I'm pretty sure those viruses in there, they probably can talk and communicate. And they're building cities. They got their own way of talking and dealing with each other. I mean, one virus look at another one and say, "You a handsome looking virus." Other one say, "Hey, will you marry me?" I don't know how viruses work. You know, I know how humans work. And that's about all we know. We know everything from our point of view. But viruses want to live just like we do. They want to thrive and live inside of our universe, the universe of our bodies. And they don't know if they abuse us. I don't think the virus know. That if they kill us, they're killing themselves. The reason I don't think the virus knows it's doing that because we don't know that if we kill the planet, we're killing ourselves. We don't even know that. And we're a virus. And if we're so smart, we're humans, and we don't know that we're killing the planet, which is alive. I definitely believe our planet is conscious. I believe the sun is conscious. I mean, Ra, the sun, kind of hinted, but you don't see him. Kind of invisible in this painting. I mean, we think of these as inanimate objects, but suppose we're the virus, we're the inanimate thing. Nobody thinks that a virus has a consciousness and a will to want to live and survive. All we want to do is get a vaccine or get immunities. We want our body to kill it off. And that's what our immunities are. Our immunities are things inside of our body that kills off other living things that's harmful to our body. That's what an antibody is. That's why you call it antibody. It's got a body. You know, it actually has an existence. It's a body. And this is an antibody. So what we want is we want the antibody to kill the body of the virus, to kill that virus. So you know, you got to kind of open your mind up and kind of see things sometimes. Sometimes we see, but we don't see, you know. And I believe that Wall Street is a virus. I believe that the modern international corporations are a virus. I believe they're destroying the planet. They're chopping down the ozone. They're chopping down trees all over the world. They're chopping down natural things that's been here for billions of years, just so one guy who's 75 years old can make some more money and run this corporation and get bigger and leave it to his son so he can jack up the next generation. And it just keeps going on and on forever unless somebody put a stop to it. And I think that's about to happen right now. So I say, if you one of these people and they're saying, hey, look, give some money to the corporations, to the stock market, to save the stock market, I say just let it crash, man. Let that junk crash. We did the same thing for the car industry. If we get better cars, if we get electric cars, if we get cars that's better for the environment, then we get cheaper cars that people could actually afford, nice luxury automobiles that you would really be proud to have. I ain't talking about no little Yugo or some stupid car like that. I'm talking about a car that you roll it out and have some pride with and you can actually afford to buy it. Did they give you that? No, the Japanese gave us that. When we bailed out the American companies, what did they give us? Nothing but a hard way to go when we go to the dealership. First of all, you got to go into debt big time just to get an automobile. So you're working for the automobile. Then you got to pay insurance to keep up this big expensive maintenance. If something should happen, you paying insurance for the maintenance. You pay insurance for an accident that you might have. You're paying a whole lot just to go from point A to point B. Did they do it? Was any laws changed for the average person that got to go out there and do the work? Because you see finally we see how much power we have. So I celebrate this virus because a lot of times people say, oh, this virus is terrible. It's killing people. Yes, it is. It's bad. But sometimes just because something is bad doesn't mean that it's not also good at the same time. It's bad for you, but it's also good for you. You know, bad is just for perspective. You know, to the person who lost somebody, the virus is bad because they love that person. That person's no longer here because this virus came along and took them out because they didn't know how to protect themselves from it. They didn't know how to, you know, not expose themselves to it. They just learned too late, too little, too late. It's unfortunate. But that's not the virus' fault. That's the person's fault for learning too little, too late. Not to say that anybody's to blame in particular. I'm just saying that that's just how sometimes things happen, but the overall thing is happening. And I believe it's happening because the earth, the antibodies of the earth, is in full effect. Whether it's an earthquake, whether it's a tornado, whether it's a hurricane, whether it's a volcano, the earth itself is saying, enough is enough. Stop it. I'm going to do some stuff to let you know I'm still in charge. This is my body. I'm releasing. This stuff is happening automatically. The earth is just like we don't go and say antibodies go start killing this thing. It's in my kidney now. Get it? Now it's in my liver. Now it's in my lung. We don't do that. It just happens. The body just automatically knows how to protect itself. It's part of how the nature works. Because it is nature. It's nature. It's how it works. Because our body is just a reflection. As it is above, so it is below. Our body is just a reflection of the earth and how it works. The earth is just a reflection of how our body works. Everything is just a reflection of another thing. Now, not as you as the center. A lot of times people think, oh, you are just my reflections. No, nobody's your reflection. You're my reflection. We are reflections of each other. We all reflect. Everything is reciprocal. Everything is connected. Nothing is the center. We said, well, the sun is the center of the universe. We thought that for a long time. Actually, we thought the earth was the center of the universe. Then we started thinking, well, the sun is the center of the universe. Now we know that we ain't even in the center of the universe. And matter of fact, is there even a center to something that's infinite? How can something be infinite and also have a center? How can it have an edge? How can it have a beginning or end? How can it be subject to time? So guess what? It's not. So therein is the problem, is that it's how we perceive things, Do we perceive things like it is that it's based on us? Or do we perceive that things is based on something bigger than us? Or something that is not even something, on elements of existence that existed since forever. Not since the beginning of the world, because there's no beginning. Like I said, how can you be the center or have an edge if it's infinite? So there's no such a thing as a beginning. In the beginning, God created no such a thing. Nobody created nothing. It just existed. Always. Just exist. They said a Big Bang. Well, what was here before? Something had to be here to explode and turn into something else. To have a Big Bang and then all of a sudden everything started to take shape. That meant that there's some other shape existed before that one. Because you can't just have nothingness and then all of a sudden bang and then something comes out of that. It had to have been another form first. Before this form. Had to be. Else, nothing doesn't make nothing, Something makes something else. I mean, for example, for the antibody to die means for the virus to also die. For the virus to live, the antibody dies. For the antibody to live, the virus lives. So dies. So constantly the plant grows and then it decays. Very rarely do you see a plant grow and just keep growing forever and never ever die. Same thing with people. You don't see any life form that comes into existence and just stays in existence forever. I know we think that's a God that does that, but you don't see it, so there's no proof of it. Therefore, that is not something that's an element of nature because it cannot be measured. Okay, if the nature is everything that exists, nature is everything that exists, the nature is the principles of existence. So, if something exists, then that means that That means that it, it needs to be reckoned with. It needs to be dealt with. It exists. It actually has a form. It has a set of rules that go with it. It has principles that you need to understand because it exists. Now, if it doesn't exist, there is nothing to think about. It just don't exist. So the second that you exist, there's something to think about, something to deal with that must be dealt with. So then you get into existence because it's nature, it exists, has a set of rules. And so let's try to understand those rules, That is the whole concept of the Kemetic religious system of the Neteru. That works not just with the physical plane, because there's multiple planes, multiple worlds. There is a spiritual world. There's a physical world. I'm going to say the spiritual world's plural. Notice I didn't say singular. The spiritual world, The spiritual world's plural. It's more than one. So when people say, are you going to heaven? Like that's a singular place. I say, are you going to the heavens? Multiple places. Multiple realms, multiple existences, multiple states of being. For example, I can just show, even on our physical plane, there's multiple states of a being. There's all of those viruses and bacteria that live inside your body. They are a state of being. We can't even see them. They're invisible to our eyes. We don't even, for the longest time as humans, we didn't even know these existed until modern science started coming along and inventing telescopes, and they start to prove that these things actually exist. That don't mean that they didn't exist. Like I say, you have to know that something exists. Be aware of principles. Otherwise, if you're not aware of the principle, the thing don't exist. If it don't exist, it's not real to you. It don't mean anything. So in the past, we had these viruses. Didn't mean anything because nobody could understand it because they didn't understand the principles of a virus. Now, scientists, and I'm going to say this, and I think this is a lost art. In the old days, the Kemetic day, there was no difference between the scientists, the biologists, the chemists. Matter of fact, chemistry. Chem comes from the lost skill of Kemet, where they were chemists. For example, these temples that are there have paint on them that still exist 4,000 years ago. That's chemistry. Paint is chemistry. We use chemistry is the elements of nature, understanding and harnessing the power of the elements of nature, chemistry. That's why they have a periodical chart. They call it a periodical chart, but on that chart it lists elements. For example, if you go to the West African tradition, they have this principle called Ogun. But some of you people who understand African tradition, you might be Nigerian or Yoruba, you understand that means iron. But actually, I go a step further. I say back in the colonial years, the number one metal that was used by the Yoruba people was iron. Ogun doesn't mean iron, it means metal. All metals, including gold, silver, steel, chromium, you name it. Ogun is all metals. But again, if your culture only understands iron, you say Ogun means iron because that's the number one metal your culture used. But today, our sciences is catching up with the old sciences that was lost. The modern science, we don't progress in a steady volume up, in terms of science. What happens during the time of the pyramids, they had mathematics without calculators. Calculus comes from somewhere. Chemistry and algebra comes from somewhere. It's an art form that somebody had, that other culture, probably along the Mediterranean, discovered this group of people with this lost art form. And they basically said, okay, you know what? Let's start learning chemistry. Let's start learning algebra. And then all of a sudden it became taught in something called university. That's why I don't call that a temple. I call it a university because that's what it was. It's a place you came to learn. It's not a place you came to say beg. Pray. To pray for something is to beg for something. You're a beggar. And there's a lot of spiritual systems is based on begging. And I'm not going to say I have a problem with it, but you have to kind of evaluate. If your system is based on begging a power outside of yourself to do something for you, then who are you? You're nobody. The power is everything. That's the boss. And anytime, you must stay very loyal to that power. Because that power has control. Because you depend on that power. Now, suppose at some point, you become a power. You become that power. Instead of you having to depend on that power, you depend on your own power. Well, that power might reach out and say, oh, I don't like this. I'm not important anymore. I think I need to do something about it. This guy getting a little too big for his britches. You know? Power might lash out. So you might want to think about that a little bit, you know? If you're going into certain things, and the power doesn't come from you, it comes from somewhere else. And that's the problem with, I think, with Christianity. Oftentimes the power don't come from the Christian. It comes from the so-called deity behind that Christian belief. Whoever that hidden deity is. So, you know, you got to think about that, you know. I mean, okay, well, it's a good one. But at the same time, it's one that could go into Jericho and Ai and kill everybody. Tell you that's what you got to do. Hold on, and this is kind of vicious and malicious right here. This thing got a little bit of an attitude here. He's got some prejudice to him. You know, if you got some jealousy, if you don't serve him just right, he gonna want everybody jacked up and killed. A lot of people don't think about stuff like that. You say, well, why is a pandemic coming? You know, why is this allowed? Why is God allowing this? Maybe that's what he wants. Maybe that's the answer to a problem. You know? Maybe you think that you are too needed. Maybe you've gotten too arrogant. You know, they built the Tower of Babel after the flood because first before the flood, man was just not serving the God to the God's liking. He wasn't. So he told Noah, if you don't kiss my butt right, I'm going to jack some folks up with some water. Tell everybody what I said, Noah, because I'm really going to kick some booty on this one. And then Noah said, you know what, everybody, listen to me. God going to kick some booty in a minute. Listen to me. If you don't kiss his booty the way he wants, exactly, you going to get jacked. I'm going to just put it in regular tones and terms that's just real simple so that anybody can understand it. I'm not going to try to make it complicated. I'm not going to make it sound all elegant like a preacher would. Because he's going to make it sound like, oh my gosh, this is some beautiful stuff here. I'm going to make it sound real like regular folks talking, not like this is... Because it's something talk, it can talk to you. It's talking through this person to you. So I'm going to make it sound exactly like that because that's what he's doing. He's not like coming from the sky, this thunderous voice, you better listen. It's talking to a person, a human being. And it's telling the human being to tell you to listen. So that's a little bit different. So now what you can do is you can question, you can ask, because it's on a human level now. So I'm thinking if somebody created the supernovas, it created the Milky Way, it created all this stuff, complex, it created the virus, stuff that nobody can understand, the atomic bomb, all this stuff was understood by the thing. And then this thing gonna tell you it's jealous. Hold on, that seems like somebody that don't know something, you know? And then it's gonna not know that if it makes the devil, that it's gonna bring a whole lot of sin and confusion and jacked upness, and the devil gonna stab him in the back and betray him, and then all these people he gonna make Adam and Eve, and they just gonna do the same thing. They're gonna just say, bump you, dude, I'm gonna do whatever the heck I want. They just basically say, bump you. I'm gonna do what the heck I want. I'm in this garden now. God, I'm gonna eat whatever the heck I want to eat, all right? You know, I want me some red beans and rice right now. There ain't nothing you can do about it. I'm gonna eat this fig. You better not say nothing either. I don't know if that's the way they said it. I'm just trying to put it in some terms that some of us might use from time to time, you know, to describe something. You know? Kind of said that just like that, you know? And you're like, oh my gosh, you know, I better listen because this guy said if I don't do this, he's going to jack up the world, you know? He's going to flood everything out and kill everything. Kill the cows, man. We can only put 2 of everything on this ark. Everything else going to drown to death. And that's basically what happened if you get corona. You basically suffocate. You get pneumonia. Everybody keeps saying it's the flu. And I had to correct people. I say it's actually pneumonia. 2 different things. The flu don't give you pneumonia. Pneumonia gives you pneumonia. What pneumonia does is suffocate you. The flu does not suffocate you. It's pneumonia. So it gives you some flu-like symptoms. But it's not the flu. It's pneumonia. Different virus do different things. Some of them give you the flu. Some of them give you pneumonia. This one gives you a type of pneumonia that basically slowly creeps up on you. Doesn't creep on you. I mean, you walk around just like you. Man, you might be on a track running one day. Said, man, I can't be suffering, man. I'm out here working out. I mean, I'm running like my 5-minute mile. I'm in good shape. Then the very next day, you sitting up in the ICU gasping for breath. Because the day before, your lungs, it's like a sponge. I just put that thing in the guy, and all of a sudden your lungs fill up with fluid, and you just can't take in oxygen. You just can't take it in. You could the day before yesterday, but today you can't. It's impossible. So without that ICU, you keep huffing and huffing and huffing until you just get tired. Your lungs get tired. Your heart is going like 1,000. You know, it's kind of like, you ever been on the track and you ran like a marathon? The coach had you out there. You know, have you ever been involved in the sports? He had you running fast, like sprints, wind sprints. Then after the wind sprints is over, you said like, he said, okay, now run a mile. And you're like, I can't run a mile. He said, run a mile. Blow the whistle. You don't, you're off the team. So you wanna stay on the team, so you go and you run anyway, even though you barely. He knows that. He's making your lungs bigger. He's making you so that you're a faster and better and stronger runner. You can't build your lungs unless you push your lungs past capacity, not at capacity. So that's what you're doing. Your heart is beating. If you ever feel your heart boom, 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 and your chest is feel like, oh God, my heart is gonna actually bust out of my chest. That's what happens with the coronavirus. Now, I do know that some people have mild symptoms. I was talking to a person today who said, well, my friend had mild symptoms. Yes. Because I think there's several strands. I think some don't do as much as others. I don't know. But I do know that a lot of times before even the people that get the worst version of it, they're having mild symptoms. And then all of a sudden, that's the thing about this thing. You might be able to skate by, and maybe you're not under stress, and maybe the cards and your lifestyle is working out till your immune system can stay on top. But if your immune system should happen to go down, you start losing, and it don't take that much time before your lungs. Just like if you go underwater in a swimming pool. How long is it going to take you to drown? I mean, how fast can, you ever put water in a sink, you're doing the dishes? How fast does the sink fill up with water? That's how fast you can go from fine, I got some flu-like symptoms, to gasping for your last breath, literally. Just that fast. It's that fast. So that's how this virus is a phenomenon of the way the virus works. It's not that the virus is such a scared boogeyman. It's that this virus tends to rock you that way. That vibe it gives off kind of gets you that way, It kind of does it that way for you. So what you got to do is you got to take it serious. You got to take it easy. You don't want to get it. If you do get it, you stay in quarantine. But most importantly, don't underestimate the thing. Because even if you do have like light symptoms and you get over with it, just consider yourself real lucky that your body was on top. And maybe you was in such a position because you didn't have to go to work, that you weren't under any really stress from work. And therefore, you didn't get as sick as you could have gotten if you was going to work and pressure of the day was on you and this, that, and you had the kids and you had the bills and all of this stuff and people weren't treating you right and you just went down real fast. Just be thankful that that's not the case. But that doesn't mean that the potential for that to happen, it don't even necessarily mean that you were that much stronger than the next person. It just means you was under less stress and your immune system was under less stress. Or, like some people say, my people who sell things that helps people health, you had the food that kept your body, your immune system built up nice. That works both ways. It works both ways. But it's a balance to it, you know. You can eat crap and not have not much stress on you. Your body won't break down that much. And you eating just potato chips every day and, you know, cotton candy and bubble gum, you know, you just all over the place. Ice cream and cheesecake, you know, all over the place, you know. Sitting up at McDonald's. Now, eventually that will catch up on you at one point in time. So I'm not telling anybody, I don't want to be irresponsible because people are telling you right. I'm just saying that your food only gets you so far. It's got to be a full balance. You want to have your mind in sync and your stress level balanced also. Because you can really, you know, you could really be putting yourself through something and really eating some good food, but since you got such a hard thing you're dealing with, you still can go down pretty quick, even though you have good food. So don't think just because you can eat, you can just go out and just do anything and then everything's gonna be fine. Because I don't think that's the case either. I think it's gonna be I think it's a balance. It's a little bit of everything. There's a little bit of everything going on when you're working with your immune system. You can go and eat your spinach and kale one day, and I mean, you really on point, and then the next day, you ate some junk somewhere, and then you're not as strong that day as you were when you had all of that nutrients in your system. So, and then sometimes we just give in. You know, we give in to our, you know, I know some persons that have a problem with potato chips. They would eat a whole bag of potato chips in one sit. I ain't talking about the small bags, you know, like the person. I'm talking like a family pack bag. In one sitting, I mean, just the whole thing just, and you know, one movie come on television. By the time that movie's off, that whole bag is devoured. And then they might go get some Philadelphia cheese, cream cheese with that thing, dip it in there, and then they go get some hot sauce, some Louisiana hot sauce with it. And then they go get a big Pepsi out the refrigerator. And they washing it down with that. And then after that, they still hungry. They go get some popcorn. And man, that movie really exciting, man. I gotta get a lot of fat, man. This thing is really calling out some stuff in my system to eat because I'm so, for the basketball game or whatever game is on TV, whatever that person's experiencing, they're eating for that. And the next thing you know, they ate some bad stuff that night. I'm pretty sure your body is immediately, your digestive system got to work on that stuff. You got to do some serious work to kind of, your liver, all that stuff got to purge that mess out. So that's your immune system. And so you can compromise your immune system in one meal, believe it or not. You don't have to, it ain't just one meal, one set of snacks. Just because you watch one movie and you was over the wrong person's house. They had that stuff over. I've been over people's houses before and they got nothing but junk. I said, man, I don't eat this stuff. But that's all they got, and that's my buddy. And they kind of feel like I'm kind of snubbing them because I ain't eating their stuff. So what, my kitchen ain't good enough for you? That kind of thing. So I just go and munch on some of that junk anyway. And then I feel bad when I get home. You know, I feel jacked up when I get back. But then I regret that I ate it, but I kind of like that I was with, you know, my good people. So it's kind of like a catch-22. So what I tell people is that low stress meditation is just as valuable as fighting viruses, as just eating good food. Because you can eat good food and still come down with this virus and still get jacked over. Because I know some athletes that got it, and these guys are serious about their food intake. I mean, really, this is their job. They get millions of dollars for making sure their body's in top form, functioning properly. And they ain't put no, I mean, they'll get mad if you serve them some stuff that's jacked up. They'll literally say, man, you know I don't eat that stuff. Where are you doing, you know? They'll let you have it. So, and then they even have a bad reaction to the coronavirus. They even had a bad reaction. And they are fine physical specimen. So I'm saying to people, and I've seen people on my local television even, that maybe other people are getting the same thing. Guy looks strong. And he was basically not believing that the virus was true, man. It's G5, it's something else. And black people can't get this. And next thing you know, the cat up in the ICU fighting for his life. Big old muscle swirling on his chest and six pack in his stomach and everything. The guy looking strong, but sick as a dog. Muscular, but sick as a dog. So just because you feel like you're a strong person, you have a certain countenance, don't necessarily mean you ain't gonna suffer nothing. It don't mean that you might not get this virus. It's just really what happens the time somebody infect you, what you eat, what you're feeling, how your body dealt with it, what time of day, what kind of sleep you got. It's a lot of variables that come into play. And how fast can your immune system get into action on your behalf to get you out of trouble? And really, it's just something that's really random like that. Because, I mean, I have a friend from Zimbabwe, and there's a person in their 30s. The only person that died in that country was 30 years old. And a lot of people that got it seem to be young, like 20s. Not that many people that's 70 and 80 got it. They don't travel that much. So the bottom line is that there'll be more deaths in the age of 25 to 30 simply because they're traveling more in that age group. And those people move around town more in that age group. And therefore, they're actually more at risk. And you're going to see more of those people in ICU than you're going to see in the older group. Now, when you see the other people in the older group in the ICU, that's because one of those other people that move around town came home, kissed mama and daddy, got them sick. That's usually what happened, because they're sitting at home in a rocking chair watching Family Feud with Steve Harvey, man. That's what they're doing. And you the one that's getting all around town, and then bring that junk back, and then they fight for their life. You sitting there, oh man, I was just sick a little, just had a mild sickness. Didn't affect me, but man, it affect mom and dad real bad. And you were the one that got them sick. They would be fine if it weren't for you. But again, ignorance is bliss, man. Ignorance, you know, you can ignorance is excused because nobody knows the cause. So it can be excused. Because if nobody knows what caused something, you can't be blamed, because I don't know how it's done. I mean, most people don't know how viruses work. And they're the guilty party, but they don't even know. So the best thing to do when you don't understand something, people tell you, chill out and stay at home, because you really don't understand how this works. Just assume that you don't understand how it works. Chill out and stay home, because you don't have that advanced science degree. Ain't no way they can explain to their blue in the face, and you're going to look at them and say, that's G5, man. That ain't going to happen because of this or that. Because you're a scientist now suddenly. Without actually being a scientist, you're a scientist. And you know more than they do. So the best thing to do is just to give advice you got to give people. The best thing to say to somebody is, Most viruses, an ounce of prevention, the old school thing my grandma used to say, ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. I mean, still applies. I mean, it's just, you don't have to be a computer scientist or a medical professional. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. In other words, the best defense you got against this coronavirus is to not get it. And the best way to not get it is to not be around someone who has it. And the best way to not be around somebody who has it is to self-quarantine, stay in place until enough people got the antibodies and scientists have enough chance. I hear a lot of people saying, man, you get that vaccine, it's going to do the same thing. It's going to make you albino, or it's going to make you autistic or something like that, or it's going to kill you off and then they're going to own you for the rest of your life. Well, dude, I mean, if you don't get it, you're going to die anyway. Or you're going to go through, and most people that I know that did survive it, describe it kind of like this. It was hell. I mean, they don't even give you any other adjective to describe that other than hell. Is the worst thing they ever did in their whole life. The worst thing they ever went through was this coronavirus. It's not like any other sickness they've ever felt. And then you got women that made 3, 4, 5 babies. Pushed them out. I ain't talking about no cesarean section. I'm talking about you got people that might have been in the military, man, and took some shots, man. Took some incoming, man. Shrapnel, everything, man. They just, man, howitzers falling, everything falling on them. And they ain't never received nothing like that. They didn't get an education like this education. You know, they didn't get the person to talk to them so sweetly as this thing do. You know, this thing is going to give you a little bit of experience, make you a stronger person. But a lot of times, a lot of people were saying that all I had to do was just give up and I would have died. I was just that close. All I had to do was just say, I can't take another breath. I'm too tired. I must give up. But they simply didn't do that. And they were happy that they listened to that stronger voice because they came out the other end. Now, they did survive, but that's how they survived. It wasn't easy peasy like, okay, I'm going to get on a roller coaster ride. Yeah, while I'm at the top, when I'm going around them curves, it's rough. But it's all good, man. It's not like that. It's not like I had the flu. Oh, yeah, man, that thing had me whooping cough. I had to take my lemonade, my orange juice drinks, and my vitamin C tablets. It's not that kind of sickness. And for some people, like I say, if you catch it the right way and your immune system is really strong when you catch it, you go to bed at a certain time when you get it and you ain't under a whole lot of stress, you might walk away with very minor situation. You just got lucky. You just hit it when the virus, your body was at the strongest. And the particular branch, the particular time you got the virus from somebody else's immune system already kind of was working on it a little bit. And so you got a bug that was a little bit weak. That's basically what happened. The people that's getting the mild version, they caught it from somebody who was suffering a little bit. Their immune system already was working on it. Then by the time it got to this other person's immune system, it was all good, you know? It was like, okay, I can handle it. But again, that's the luck of the draw. It's just like going to the roulette table. You know, you think you can win, you want to win, but, you know, you're taking a chance, man. You got to put your money out there. And there's a chance that you can lose it all. Why take that kind of chance if you don't have to? So what I say, the virus is trying to deal with the virus of humans, nature's earth purging itself. So if you're not the type of person that need to be purged, that means that you're the type of person who listens. If you're not the type of person that listens, that means you're probably the person who's polluting and jacking stuff up anyway. And so most likely you're going to be the person who not listen and wind up suffering with this virus and perhaps even dying from it. Because that's exactly what's happening with this virus. The earth is trying to purge itself of humans that's jacking it up. That's what's happening. It's trying to purge itself of humans that's trying to jack it up. And the earth wants to survive. See, the earth wants to live too. It doesn't want to go extinct. It doesn't want to die. All of the living beings on the earth is from it. The algae, the trees, they're all alive. They all have a certain consciousness. You know, I know we think only humans have a certain consciousness, but every single animal on this earth is just as conscious as us, has a soul just like us. If they could think just like us about heaven, they would want to go to heaven too. You know, if there's such a thing as heaven, they would want to go too. We as humans, we think we're the only one that deserve that. But I guarantee if you could explain that to an orangutan or something, he's going to want to go to heaven too, man. So, well, dog, why you get to go and I don't get to go? You know? You know? But, you know, like I said, well, orangutan can't talk, so what are you talking about? I mean, you know, again, we're thinking about everything from our point of view. They do have a will to want to live. They know that if you're trying to kill it, it's going to try to stay alive. They're going to do everything in their power to preserve their living being. So it don't have to talk. It's communicating just by its actions how it feels. It doesn't have to be to speak English or whatever language you're speaking to let you know that it definitely cares about its being. It definitely cares about wanting to have prosperity in life. When it loses its loved ones, I saw this again, Mutual Omaha, whatever this show is, where this elephant or whatever it was, animal from Africa, you know, out in the Serengeti somewhere, when it lost one of its loved ones, the animal sat there crying. They were literally, you could just see the sounds coming from them. It sounds just like a human when they're mourning the loss of one of their loved ones. It sounds exactly the same. Except for they couldn't speak English. They were speaking elephant talk or whatever it was, you know. We couldn't, the people that were stupid was not the elephants or the animals that was making the noise. It's humans, we couldn't understand them. But right there, I kind of start realizing, you know what? They care about their lost people the exact same way humans do. There ain't no difference. This is not something unique to human beings. Almost every living being wants to thrive, including this virus. It wants to thrive. It wants to live. It wants to survive. It wants to make a living. It wants to be prosperous. It wants to go forth and prosperous and replenish itself upon the earth. And is not necessarily aware that the host that it's using doesn't want that same thing. It's got a whole different objective. It doesn't even know that. It doesn't even know that that's the case. All it knows is that it wants to live. That's what it knows. It knows that it wants to live. So, you know, here it is, this virus is trying to live, and here it is, we're trying to figure out how to make this virus not live so we can live. So you have two conflicting things. You have Set and you have Harut. A Sar and a Set. One is divine order. Our body is a Sar. All the Sar doing is making sense of everything. You know, that's what our conscious mind is doing. It wants to sit there and logically says, yes, this is this. And when Set chopped a Sar in 1,000 pieces and cast them into the Nile, that's the virus. That's death. That's the cycle. All they're explaining to you is the cycle of life. A man lives and he tries to make sense of everything. But in the end, no matter how good he is, no matter how good a Sar is, no matter how powerful that man is, chaos, Set is not evil. A lot of people say Set's the devil because these are Abrahamically taught people. Actually, Apep, A-P-E-P, the serpent thing that lives in the Nile, that is the nature of evil. Set is the nature of chaos, which is different. That's why when you see Set kind of friendly with Ra. I mean, chaos existed before order. You know, even according to the Abrahamic traditions, there was nothing. There was void. You know, there was chaos. There was no order. And then the God came and made order. That's Asar. So that's why Set is the older brother. Because before there's order, there has to be disorder. Because Set equals chaos. Chaos for humans, from our point of view, everything is from the point of view. That's why they put the netter on a human body. So they're telling you this principle is from a human point of view. They're not telling you this is a God with a human body to be worshipped as a God with a human body, as an animal with a human body. They're explaining to you a principle, and they're trying to use the animal, just like we do with the sheep and the wolf in the Abrahamic tradition. They're trying to explain to you using the animal, because what happened was the aardvark, that's Seth's, his animal is the aardvark. What happened to the African at night, when he went into his little building that he slept in, he planted his little crops by the Nile. Then at night, the aardvark is a nocturnal animal. It comes out and it does its thing at night. So what happens with the aardvark is, it's like the rabbit. You know, we always got this little story in the American tradition about the rabbit in the carrot patch, you know? And then what happens when the human's not aware, like the crow in the corn patch. When the human, that's why you got to put a scarecrow there, because when the humans is not there, that thing gonna come and ravage through the crops, man. Or like the locusts that we just saw in Africa. I mean, that thing want to eat too, man. The locusts want to eat. It's just that we don't want that locust fooling with our stuff. You know, that's Sat. That's the principle of Sat. So Sat is anything that's the opposite of what your goals and intentions are as a human being. It's not necessarily evil. It's a principle of yourself. So anything that goes against your order, Asar is you. Set is also you. And you could be your own worst enemy. You're also your own Set. Or you could be your own Asar. You also can be your own hero. You could be your own son of Asar. The person who avenges when you mess up the first time. The person that comes out and say, I learned from that first mistake. I ain't gonna do it again. That is Haru. That's Horus. He's the savior. He's the avenger. He's not necessarily an avenger. He learned what happened to his dad. He's basically his dad reincarnated. He's you after the fact. Asar is you before the fact. The innocent you. The idealistic you. To had the idea that everything is perfect until life comes and show you it's not perfect. Man, you cut into 14 pieces. And then the part that makes stuff happen, the part that's metaphysical, which is in their case, the Tekken or the obelisk, that's been cut off. So the part that makes you fertile, the part that makes you prosperous, that makes stuff happen for you, don't even work no more. That time has come and it's gone. It's a masculine principle because men initiate mostly and women receive. However, that's why that piece was eaten by the crocodile, because it means crocodile sect back. We got to know what the nature is. When we see the croc back, that's his sect back. S-O-B-E-K. He is the devourer. He devours Kansu, time. Kansu is time. It's also the moon, but he's time. He's the nature for us that's based on the rotations of Ra around the earth. He is the one that's making sure that when your time is up, you don't try to come back into time again and start over. So he's going to devour the Tekken, the obelisk, the element of you. You know, it's just like a woman. She has a certain time that she can be fertile. After that time, she can't. You guys can have sex all you want. There's a certain amount of time with a man that you having sex like 24/7, all day long, 365 days. And then when you get a certain age, You might have sex once a year. I don't know. I just hear this, you know. But everybody has a time in the season. Everything has, and the crop does. In the fall time, what the crop does is the crop, no matter how good that corn was growing, in the summer, when a certain season comes, that crop gets brown. Don't want to grow no more. It's time to stop. That's set. That's the principle of set. No matter how good the farmer's intention is, he can put fertilizer on it. He can do anything he wants. That's Haru. But it just seemed like Set's winning all the time. But then the other story where with the cabbage and all this homosexuality, they say it's homosexuality because we thinking from, again, an Abrahamic point of view. But it's not. What it is no matter how, what it's saying is no matter how hard you try, and then sometimes you can try really hard, you can trick chaos, you can trick nature, you can trick calamity, and you can win anyway, because Haru is going to figure out a way to win. And the way to win is to gain back your ability to initiate. So we're talking metaphysical principles. We're talking about principles. They're not talking about actual penises and people having sex with each other, actual like people. It has nothing to do, it's a principle of how nature works. Whether that nature is a virus, whether that nature is the universe and outer space, whether it's inner space within our bodies, within a molecule. Yes, there's worlds inside of molecules. There's worlds inside of molecules. There's worlds outside of molecules, just like the one we're in. We're in the world outside of the molecule. There's another world that exists inside of the molecule. So most people don't even go there. They don't even touch that kind of stuff because they don't even know to touch it. They don't even know about it. They don't even know that they need to know. That's how little they actually know. And anyway, there's worlds within worlds. And now I'm going to use the word world. I'm not even going to use the word realm and dimension because that kind of makes it look too scientific. I'm going to make it look like some sci-fi junk. Because I'm not even trying to explain it no more because everybody always wants to cut down junk anyway. You say something and then they go, oh, I don't think so. So I'm going to just make it sound stupid. Because I really don't care if a person thinks it's smart or dumb. But anyway, that is the principle of Set and Haru and Set and Asar. It really does not have a whole lot to do with actually having sex with each other or cutting each other up and throwing each other in the Nile River. It's very little to do with that. What they're teaching you is how science works. It's science. Wizardry is science. Basically, somebody stole some Kemet stuff a long time ago, and they just put a new name on it because it didn't exist before. They called it science. And because they were smart enough to do the math and figure it out, they said, actually, anybody can do this. You don't have to be any wizard or anything. It's just, this is how I figured out this principle of how things work. And I can make this chemistry do this anytime I want. Anytime I want, I could do this stuff. So they figured it out and they start calling it science. To make it so that the church, people like that won't string them up, put them in a dungeon and kill them. They said, no, this is something different this is not wizardry like you think. This is not witchcraft. This is science. Okay? And that's how they did it. They made it science. Why did they have to make it science? Because during that time, if you called it something else, what it actually was, you got killed. Literally. You got sent away to a little dark place. They put you on the racks. They made you confess some stuff. They just torture you until you say, okay, I'm guilty. and it was over with for you after you plead that. That was it. Oh, you admitted. Burn them at the stake. So all the people you see in the little pictures in the old days where they burn this, that was probably a scientist, or they was called practicing witchcraft, but they're really modern day scientists, doctors. The same people that's trying to help us with the cure to the virus that we're having now. At one point, the very people that they're trying to save today, we're trying to put them on the racks, man. For doing the exact same thing. But because some people was able to convince some other people that it's okay, because it's called science, we can do that today and kind of save some people's lives. You know, you can call it engineering, but you got to figure out, you have to know some math. You know, you got to use some Daoud powers. You know, to be able to figure out how much stress this bridge can take. A whole X amount of weight, because you're using Ogun, you're using iron to be able to hold this daggone weight so you can get these cars and trucks from one side of the lagoon to the next, you know, or whatever you got there. So you're using the principles of the Orisha or the Netaru all the time, but we're calling it science today. So when people say, well, I don't want the white man's science, you're neglecting a whole part of the educational system of what you're doing. You're only doing the one dimension. You're not working with your physical dimension at all. You're only working with the spiritual dimension only, which means you only can see half the picture. So if you need to work with something that is that you can solve yourself through herbs and different things like that, and somebody was able to pass that information to you just through normal education, you can't do it because you're going using a different route where you're trying to get something to happen on a metaphysical level, as opposed to seeing what you can do for yourself on your own level, using basic science, not even advanced science. Because right now, I think they already experiment with some stuff. They're just trying to get a vehicle where this can be implemented, this vaccine. And I know a lot of people don't want to take a vaccine, but guess what a vaccine is? It's actually our stuff that somebody else learned and mastered, and you didn't. And because you're ignorant of that, you don't understand how it works. Now, I understand that some people don't know how to use it right, and it winds up hurting people inadvertently. That happens. It's administered wrong, the wrong dosage, the wrong way. Just like if you get this coronavirus the wrong way, it can just give somebody like a little bit of a bad time, but don't really affect them that intensely. And then the next person, they're fighting for their life, and the next person is dead. Just like that, if you administer certain vaccines to people the wrong way, without the right care, you can hurt people. Likewise, if you do some, I'm gonna just do the Christian stuff, the faith healing the wrong way, anything. Or if you're doing some other kind of healing, you do it the wrong way, you can hurt somebody too. So you got to do it the right way with a certain amount of respect for what it is and understanding of what it is. Most important, understanding of what is going. Understanding. That's the most important thing. Is to understand. Because oftentimes most people, most human beings don't understand jack. They, like I said, they don't even know that they should understand anything. They just want to be, reciting, doing some posts on social media or something. They don't really want to try to understand anything. They just kind of like a parrot, Somebody says something, so they're going to parrot it to the next person. Then that person parrot it to the next person. The next person parrot, and it's echoing all through the place. Don't nobody understand jack, but everybody's parroting. And see, that's a bad scenario. That's not That's not going to be productive. That's not going to be helpful to anybody. And when you got a lot of stuff going on and don't help anybody, that's not good. You know, that's not Haru. That's not the principle of Haru. Haru is the savior. He helps people. How can he avenge the Tsar and cure Set, the virus? Because he wants to live. He don't want the virus to win this time. We're human. We want to save our loved ones. How are you going to do that if you don't understand what's going on? You know, you got to have knowledge. You have to have an open mind in order to receive knowledge. A closed mind don't receive hardly anything because it knows everything. So I'm wary of books and philosophies in life that claim like they know everything. So that's finite. When you know everything, it's not infinite. It's very finite. In other words, it can be put in a box. It can be put into a category and contained by something else greater than it is. So then that's not the greatest thing. That's not the greatest position because you don't have the greatest power because it's finite. So how can it be the great by virtue of not being finite? It cannot be the greatest power. It just can't. In order to be the greatest power, it has to be infinite or omnipotent. It's another good word that is used a lot. Omnipotence. In order for something to be omnipotent, it must be infinite in all wisdom. In other words, one of the things I always tell people, for something to get emotional, like if I'm going to laugh at something, because at first I don't get the joke. Then after a while, it dawns on me what the joke is. Then I say, oh, I get it. And then it's funny. And then I laugh. Well, that don't make me omnipotent. That means the thing that told the joke knew the answer before me. It didn't have all knowledge and all power. It had more knowledge than me, so I was not all powerful. Then I had an emotion. So just by virtue of having any emotion, that is finite. That's not infinite. That means that before I knew that I was going to be sad, I was happy. I didn't even know something was going to happen to change my mood. Mood is a lower vibration. The lack of mood is a higher. A lot of times people say, you're taking down my mood, you're messing up my vibration. I'm going to say you don't even understand the vibration because just because your mood changed, that tells me you don't understand about vibrations because the vibration that's higher is the lack of vibration, lack of a mood, lack of emotion. To not have a feeling one way or the next. I mean, somebody comes and they do axe murder and they kill somebody right in front of you, you don't have a reaction. That is actually a higher vibration. You don't even respond to that. So people will say, you're kind of like inhuman. So about a lot of people's definition of human means that they deal in the lower vibrations. You know, and that means that you're going to have depression, you're going to have anxiety, there's a lot of, you're the tide of emotion. You're just going back and forward, kind of like the tide of the earth. As the currents take you, there you're going. Just, you know, like a rocket. You just take on off. You know? You don't really have control because that emotion, you know, when people say, you know, I didn't want to, you know, you see the guy he's the axe murderer. He said, well, it's like a steel trap came over my brain and I wasn't even in control of myself. And I just took out a big butcher knife and I just stabbed him 1,000 times. And I lost control. And then you see the witness with the policeman say, well, the person stabbed him like 300 times, you know. Well, that's called emotions. That's somebody who basically was so full in their emotions that they went to a very low vibration. So that's a good example of emotions and vibrations. Those are the extreme examples. But just by virtue of having emotions mean that you're going to do bad evil now. Now we got to understand that the nature rule or the nature of evil is APEP. A-P-E-P. Look it up. When we see Sarah, born of Apis, APEP. That's the Greek. When they put an us on the end, that's Greek. Epi with an us on the end is Greek. Masculine. It's the water snake. Yes. Now, just because it's a cobra, the cobra is not evil, but the water snake is evil. Two different natures. Two different symbols, I should say. So we have to get our symbology right. If you're going to learn Kemet and you want to learn the Neteru, you have to get you got to understand, you got to define each and every Neteru that you encounter. You should sit there with a pad and pencil. I'm just give you a real good, easy way to learn. And write it down. As much information. Just write down the name of that Neteru, spell it out, and write down as much information about that particular Neteru. And then have the parent of that one, the parent of that one, the child of this one. Put it all together. You can do the same thing with the Orisha. And you're going to learn a whole bunch about some metaphysical stuff just by doing that. At least what other people thought, what the ancient people thought about their metaphysical stuff, I should say. The ancient spiritual, you can call it whatever you want, spiritual. A lot of people don't want to call it religion, so I don't like to call it that, so I say metaphysical stuff. If you want to learn about that, there is a way to do that. And the way to do that is simply to write down write down all of the definitions you can find, not what some modern person think that nature was, but what the ancient people wrote about it. Then you will learn very, very quickly how those people, what principles those people were working with. That's a good way to do it. You don't need to be an anthropologist. You don't have to be a chematologist. You don't have to be reading any special books. It's just common sense because it was made for the average person back then. It was made for the average, Arcadian kind of mentality person to understand, who was probably illiterate and a farmer. It's made for that person to understand. So when the priesthood came around, it's like we understand what a shepherd and a sheep is. He could explain very complicated things to them, and they would go, okay, I see what you're saying. That's what it was designed to do. So it's not something that's made so that it's just so far, because if it was written down, if they wrote it down so that other people could read it, and it's in stone, that means that that's not their top secret. That means that that's just some of their secrets that they don't mind letting you know about. That's not everything that they know. That's not even the big stuff. It's not the real stuff. That's the kind of like the warm-up stuff, The child's play stuff. Okay, so when we think about a virus, let's think about the earth is alive. It's Geb. It's the nature of Geb. And Geb is getting ticked off with man. He's getting ticked off with man. He's not getting ticked off with the Asar part of man. He's getting ticked off with the Set part of man and the Apap part of man. That's really ticking him off quite a bit. And he's got to deal with it. So you're dealing with Geb right now. That's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with Geb. And he's ticked the bump off. And what he wants to do is purge. Whether we want to be purged or not, nature purges. I mean, you guys might have gone and eaten your chicken today and think none of it. That's how nature is. It just say, look, I gotta eat, I gotta survive, I gotta live. I know that you're a chicken, but you're not as important as me. Therefore, I'm sorry, but you gotta go through the company assembly line, and they're gonna chop your head off and pluck your feathers off, put you in a package and put you in the supermarket so I can go buy you. Then I'll be in the store a little later on. I'm gonna come by and pick out whichever one of you guys, the one that's the fattest one to me. and I'm gonna mix you up in my salad. I'm gonna have me a nice little salad with you. You know? And that's exactly what the earth is doing right now. We had a lot of polluting going on in China and in America and other places. Now it's time that the earth is saying stop, or I'm gonna make you stop, whether you like it or not. And it's not a coincidence that the people who suffer the most is the Wall Street fellas, because they're the ones that's in charge, and the antibodies know that. The power, the consciousness of the thing knows that. They can't hide. It knows that these are the guys that their system need to go down. As long as I keep letting that system up, the antibodies ain't gonna work. I can't purge them. They're gonna just come on back. You know, the disease is just gonna make a comeback on me, like cancer. Then I'm gonna be dead. So I gotta sit there and put some chemotherapy on this thing or something like that until this thing is gone. So my antibodies can get control again and keep them in check so that I can live in comfort again. Alright? Because at the end of the day, that's all we want to do. Live in comfort. So that's Gab. Gab's ticked off. I mean, just another way to describe some. Other people would say, we're living in the last days and Revelation, apocalypse is nigh. Repent. Well, they're talking about, hey man, don't go to church and say amen and put some more money in the offering tray. They're not really telling you about repent from polluting the earth. That's a sin too. That's not one that's written in a certain book. Being offensive to the earth, that's a sin. According to the Native Americans, is a sin. Just because it's one particular person's tradition don't make it less of a sin than the other ones. It's just, this is your tradition, this is somebody else's, but they're both are evil. Both of them are APAP. It's just your point of view and somebody else's point of view. And because you might be the controlling people in the society and this is your view, don't mean that you're right. It just means that you're the controlling person in the society and that's your point of view. And more people have your point of view than the other point of view. Now, if people don't get it, the earth has a way to make sure you get it regardless of your own ignorance. Now, I believe that's what's happening now. I believe irregardless of our own ignorance, we're going to be educated. Educational process is going down. Educational process is going to go down. And we're going to stand corrected. And then finally we're going to get it. Okay, what we need to do is take care of the earth better. We need to listen to the Native Americans and not pollute so much. We need to come up with solar power as opposed to trying to use all this fossil fuel power so much. It's putting all the CO2 in the air and all this kind of stuff and polluting everything. And the whales coming beached up on it. The whales can't speak, but their energy goes back into the universe and say, man, we're dying. You know, do something. The turtles can't speak, but the energy goes back into the universe and say, man, these humans is jacking me over. Those bats they had in China couldn't speak, but the energy went out and said, send out this dag, make this virus. Let's deal with this the way we've been treated over here in China. They're taking blowtorches to dogs and stuff, you know. Let's deal with this. You know, let's deal with it. And that's what happens. It's getting dealt with. And the bat energy is talking to the whale energy that's talking to the It's talking to the turtle energy. It's talking to the Native American energy. It's talking to everybody's energy. It's communicating back and forth to each other, one to the next to the other one to the next. The energy is moving all around like the Geb. The whole earth is interconnected, talking to each other. You ever have like a premonition? Like your friend was needing some help and you said, I had a feeling. And that's why I called. They said, I was just thinking about you. That's what that is. That's exactly what that is. How did you know that person was thinking about you right then and there? That's the same kind of communication that's going on. So but this time it's going on about how we're jacking up the planet. So I think now it's finally the planet has gotten the attention of the important people who's running it, the people who have the power to run it. What the planet is saying is, if you don't run me right, I'm going to run you off. Now, I created you. I was the one that allowed you to come forward. I allowed you to enter, you entered into my body. But now that you're trying to destroy me, I don't care if you're there or not. You can live or you can exist or not live, but just don't jack me up. Because you don't care if any antibodies is living. You know that you have microbes living inside of you and bacteria living inside of you. You don't care. As long as it doesn't try to kill you. All of a sudden you get upset when something tries to take you out. And somebody says, oh, you have cancer. Then all of a sudden it gets real serious all of a sudden. So it's the same kind of way. If the virus or whatever that is living inside you, nobody cares. They don't even pay attention. Doctor's not alerted. Nobody's alerted. You're only alerted when that thing starts having an adverse reaction. There's adverse reaction. Your ozone is depleted. Stuff start happening. Animals start complaining. And then all of a sudden, okay, this has to stop right here. This has gone too far. So that's what's happening right now. It's gone too far. And it's time to be over with now. The earth can't stand anymore. So, there you go. So that is the nature root. Pronounced nature root. Because it is nature. It is existence of everything, not just the earth. Everything in the universe. Not only things in the universe, everything in the ultraverse, the other verse. Not only that verse, all the other verses. And if you learn those principles, the principles of the other verses, that's when you really start to pick up on some things. Problem with most humans is that stuff really don't apply to us too much. We can get to most of the stuff we do without even that. But some people that's really on the master level, they want to know about those things. They want to kind of accelerate in some more advanced concepts of things. They want to get into some deep stuff. They want some deep junk going down. Then those people might be getting into something else. But that's what you get to learn from ancient Kemet. The nature root. And that's what we get to learn from viruses. Virus is a nature root. I think, which was the one in IFA that is the pandemics? Forget what he's called. But again, that's the Orisha of that. That's the one. He was working with Ogun, and they're wrecking their own form of war. They don't use swords and weapons and machine guns and tanks and shields and axes. They use their principles, which are not your principles. Theirs. I think there's one in Kemet as well. It's just the most, he's little known. Only the advanced practitioners, the advanced scientists know that one. But can you learn about it through regular science that we have today? Yes, you can. Can you apply it to older sciences that existed in antiquity? Yes, you can. What are we basing things on today? Are we basing it on the Benny Hinn the healer, who's knocking people out with his suit coat on the stage? Where is he now? Tell him to go to New York and go to the main hospital and heal everybody, please. Right now. I command him to do that. He has a responsibility to go and do that right now. Here's your challenge. Do so. Get on a plane, get you behind in New York, and do your thing, baby. If not, when this is over with, we don't want to hear about that mess no more, man. Because you're exposed. Simple as that. You're exposed. Because you disappeared off the scene when everybody needed you. And then you're going to come back when it's all over with some kind of excuse that you done made up. So God told you this and that. And the only person that's telling you is you. And you will get some idiots to believe it. Because people are gullible. It's science that's going to solve this problem. Medical science, in this case. Can you say medical science? Okay, I'm going to say it one more time. Medical science is going to solve this problem. I didn't say hocus pocus. I didn't say who's could do or we can boo. I said medical science is going to solve this problem. And I definitely didn't say nothing from the Abrahamic religion is going to do it. That's some more stuff. If anything, it helped to cause this. But that's a whole other topic. I don't want to get down. I don't want to divulge into all that. Because I might be letting too much out of the bag right now. I'm going to keep some of it under the wraps for now. Or, like I say, everything communicates through something. There's not one voice, there's not one mouth, there's not one word. Nature is going to say, the whale cannot speak, but nature is going to say what nature is going to say, regardless. And it cannot be stopped, as we can see with the COVID-19 virus. It is a force beyond your reckoning. And does it have to prove itself? Yes, when you force it to. Otherwise, we might not even have this pandemic. Should you be sensitive to it like the Native Americans are? Yes, or you wouldn't be having this pandemic. You're not sensitive to it, so therefore you're having this pandemic. You know? Should you be sensitive to it? Yes, because we're having this pandemic. And it usually happens when there's too many humans doing too many things at the same time, in the same place, the wrong way. That's usually when you get a pandemic. Too many people doing too many things at the same time, the wrong way. That is the general formula that creates pandemics in the first place. Because it's a human thing. A pandemic, this pandemic happened because of humans. No humans, there will be no coronavirus because there ain't no humans for it to infect. There might be amongst other animals, but it wouldn't be one. And usually when these pandemics hit, they hit dense populations of humans. Other parts of the world that's not so dense, they have a more natural way of living, doesn't happen. I was just talking to my friend from Africa today. They don't believe it's going to hit Africa that heavy. Now, I was telling my friend from Africa, I believe it's going to hit Africa heavy because the virus, you're a human being, and the virus doesn't have any respect to your region. Some people, well, I'm from a warm area. I don't know about that. But are there abuses and offenses in your area? Yes. Are the people in your area corrupt? Yes. Are they doing bad things? Yes. Do they have cities that's overpacked with people? Yes. Do the people that's in authority, your SARS, your people that maintain control, are they selfish, ruthless people? Yes. Are they people who care about their people and try to save their people from a pandemic and do the right thing in time, regardless of money? No. Are there people who are just going to say, let's sit back and protect the banks, protect our storages, protect our coffers of wealth, let the poor people die? Those kind of people? Yes. The chances are, it doesn't matter what your ethnicity is or where you're from, you have the exact recipe to suffer badly from a pandemic. Because you got to understand the nature of a pandemic first. First of all, you have to have an environment of humans that's jacked up. That's what you got to have first. So, Wuhan is jacked up. You don't even have to tell me, I've never been there. You don't have to tell me it's jacked up. By virtue of that being the epicenter, it's jacked up. That's why it happened there. Some people doing some jacked up things too long, too much. Therefore, that's it. Now, you can be from China, be from Wuhan, and say, oh, I take offense to that. I'm sorry. But you probably know, because you're there, you might have probably lost loved ones because the irresponsible local government and then the national government responded, and they still hiding stuff out of China. Their information out of China is totally false. And so it's exposed in China. China has been exposed to the whole world. How you going to be a superpower, China, if you're going to lie to the whole planet about something that's killing the whole planet that started in your backyard? And you let the thing fester. Then when the thing got going, you could have stopped it and let everybody know we need some help. What is the best way to solve this using science? You chose to bury the head in the sand, thinking it's going to go away, thinking you can hide. The truth is not going to be revealed. We can control the truth. Those are the people that pandemics happen to. They're so powerful, they become weak again. They're so weak, and they think they're powerful. But in reality, they're weak. Because the pandemic has the last word. Therefore, even though you might be the most powerful person in the country, you're wearing a mask on your face with a shield and a hoodie suit on. You're not coming in there like Superman, like, I'm a superhuman and this pandemic is not my boss. The pandemic said, no, sir, I'm the boss. You yield to my authority. My authority is if you come in my space of existence, in other words, if I get inside your body, I own you. That's what it says. Unless your body is strong enough to deal with me. If I catch you the right way, I'm going to jack you up. That's basically what the thing's saying. So, and if you're a bad person, if you're a person, generally people in authority, they're about 70 years old. They live long enough to know how to get on top of the game. They're good at it. They started at a young age. They're a top gamer. Those are the people jacking the planet up right now. The little guy that's out there doing this little stuff, he ain't doing nothing. He ain't jacking nothing up. He don't even know how to jack something up. He ain't even smart enough to jack something up. The people, there's another saying in Christianity that when much is given, much is required. Well, I think that principle existed way before Christianity, but it's a wise saying. So, if you're the leader, you have a heavier requirement. You have to be more noble. You have to be able to have a bigger chin, take more stuff on the chin, including your own shame, than somebody who's not a leader. Somebody who's just a dude that's sitting at home, going to work every day, and working hard out in the race paddy, coming home and feeding his kid, only for him to come home and bring the pandemic virus, jack his whole family up. You have a responsibility to that person. Because you appointed yourself. You wanted, you coveted the position of power to have authority over these people. And now that you have this authority over these people, you are failing them. So, and not only you're failing them, you're failing the whole planet. Because on the planetary scale, people are dying. On a planetary scale. Grandmas are dying. Grandpas are dying. You can send some humanitarian relief, but it's a great gesture, but it ain't good enough. What should have been was the right thing should have been done from the beginning. The wherewithal and presence of mind to do the right thing from the beginning is what marks a true leader. On the seat of his pants, in the spurt of the moment, take it on the chin. That is a true leader. Not a person who's just going to be a person that seeks advantage, but a person who works even when he's not going to be looked in at an advantage position. We've gotten so political that everybody's scared to lose. Therefore, nobody wins. And when I say nobody wins, that means we can't move forward as a culture of human beings. I don't mean nobody wins like the Democrats or the Republicans win. No. I'm not talking about that kind of win. Or the communists or the capitalists, you know. I'm not talking about that kind of win. Or I got money, you don't. I ain't talking about that kind of winning either. Because those kind of winners, you can have $1 billion in the bank, get corona tomorrow, and be dead by the evening, that evening, and who gonna get you $1 billion? Not you, you're dead. You ain't getting jack. Well, at least my kids will get it. Yeah, they're gonna get it maybe, if you have some. But a lot of times, you probably don't even have kids, or you might not even have a good relationship with all of them or all of them. Even, for that to happen nice, Because you did stuff mostly geared around money, not geared around other things that are probably more important. So, that's what the coronavirus can teach us. You always have to look at the positive. What can this coronavirus teach us? What have we learned about ourselves from having to endure these hardships? Well, a lot of times you see people singing songs on the internet. That's some good stuff. Reading books. Because people are worrying and trying to get people's minds. I mean, those are some good people. That's actually goodness, man. Now, the people that said, go back to work, someone was going to die anyway. Oh, I don't know. I don't know how good that is. I mean, do you know how good that is? I don't know if that's good or not. So we can make some money. Well, money don't exist. This is what exists, trade between human beings. One human being makes something and say, this is worth X amount of worth. Whatever units you want to call it. Let's just call it units. This is worth X number of units. So I'm going to trade you, yours is worth this amount of units. It's not as worth as much as mine. So we need some kind of measuring system, like a cup or a spoon or something where we can measure the worth. So we call that currency. So you can call it the euro, you can call it the dollar, you can call it the Bitcoin, you call it whatever you want. It's a place that you dump something at temporarily with value, the whole value, so you can trade and get and barter for something else. That's what it is. Money doesn't exist. It's an accounting system. It's a system. It's a principle Finances is a principle. People say get money. It's a principle of barter. Yes, you have positioned yourself in a place where you have a lot of bartering ability. But then you got to understand, it's not just for you to sit there and buy you some Gucci bags and some pocketbooks and some designer clothes and some fancy cars. What are you going to do to help anybody with that? A power, an ability that you have. So your ability is very selfish. Your ability is simply to be vanity. It's vanity. It's simply there so you can get a yacht, so you get a fancy car, you can put on some fancy clothes and strut around and pimp. That's what it's for. That's your definition of get money. You trade it, whatever you do, and you do it very well, but you negotiate it and put yourself in a position where you are now can get stuff done. But what you choose to get done is vanity stuff about your own pride, about your own feeling of really self-worth, but actually no worth. You don't have much worth because you have to adorn yourself in certain things to feel like you're worthy, that you're worth something. You know, I look at people like Warren Buffett and Bill Gates. These guys are wearing some Pro-Kid sneakers. I mean, some little $10 sneakers and $15 shirt and a $20 pair of pants to a meeting discussing trillions of dollars of abilities to get something done. Let's put it that way. You know, effectively get things done. Then I look at somebody else who's got a whole stack of grocery bags of money stacked all around them, big gold chains on, all kinds of fancy clothes. They ain't doing nothing for nobody but themselves. But they want everybody to, you know, pay attention to them. Well, you're looking at a person that when their time is up, because your time is short anyway, most people get about 70 to 100 years these days. And so if you're already 35 and you made it, you're at the halfway point. And you might be 50, you might still be somewhere in the halfway zone between 35 and 50. And you haven't done nothing but serve yourself, somewhat selfishly. You haven't changed the earth, but do you have an obligation to change the earth? Like I say, the earth made you. The earth is you. Everything, every person around you is you. You are all those people. All those people are you. So you're connected. It's the village, the African principle of the village, you know. You know, if somebody does something wrong in the village, all of the elders in the village can correct that person. Not just that person's mother, father, family. Or if they need some help, everybody in the village comes and helps that person build a house. They don't have to go into debt and get a loan and work this real crazy job and beat themselves over the head. They want to get married. They're a nice couple. Everybody get together. They build you a house. They give you a field somewhere. It don't even cost. The Native Americans the same way. Nothing costs any money. How does somebody get some land that they basically never owned? They come over here and set up a system and say, in order for you to now be able to live, you have to pay us to farm. You get to buy the land, use the farm. You got to pay us. To buy the seeds used to sow, you got to pay us. To have this so you can get the water from there, you got to pay us. How do you figure out how to do that and make somebody actually pay for it? When they're born, they can just use it. They can just go outside, drink water, and plant. It don't belong to the people that you're paying. It never did. But they were able to convince you that you should be paying for it. And the whole planet is so dumb that we're going for it. We got these little few people whose ancestors won this land a long time ago, who won control of the system a long time ago. And they simply passed the money down, the trade money that they got most of the time illicitly or illegally or through crooked means. And they never work. From generation to generation, they never, ever, ever, never work. And they make the system to make you pay for stuff that was already rightfully yours to have anyway. This earth is for everybody. The principle of Geb is for everybody. It's for the whale, it's for the tree, to coexist peacefully. The people that's the evil people, the people that's the wrong, the APAP people, are the people who's figured out how to make a system where you got to get up every day and almost kill yourself to just pay for it so you can just exist in it. When really, and then they sit there and just own it. They're the ones who own it. And they just simply enjoy all of the nice things in life. And they pass that on to their kids and they enjoy all the nice things. And you and your kids don't get to enjoy nothing. All you do is work for them so they can keep that going forever. That's the system that exists today. That system is set up by APAP. That's evil. Now, APAP doesn't have a human body. So evil doesn't just exist with humans either. It exists with animals, it exists with a lot of things. It exists, that means if you don't have a human body, the snake head was never put on a human body. That means that it exists in the spirit world too. So, therefore we have evil spirits. So, there you go. Because if it has a human body, that means it's only pertaining to this world. After Geb. Everything, all the netters, after Geb. Because you got to understand, Asar came after Geb. Aset came after Geb. Geb was first. You know? So you got to know which Neteru was the parent or the child of the other. To know which one is in charge of what. You know, which elder is in charge of what subordinate. Or how does the principle work? What is the key principle to control the sub-principles that govern, I should say, not control, that govern the sub-principles, because nobody's controlling anything. It all works like a machine. One gear in a clock is not more dominant than the other gear, because you take one gear away, the entire clock doesn't work. Likewise, that's how the Neteru works. They all work together. You cannot take away Set and then say, okay, no more chaos. Because then the ability for plants to break down and decay and turn back into soil, the whole principle of how all physical, both physical and metaphysical, gets destroyed. Because Set is the principle of breaking stuff down, chaos, breaking it down. I mean, inside of your body, for example, Set is busy at work. You just ate a meal. Set's inside of your body. The principle of Set is inside of your body now. Digesting, breaking it down with acids and some harsh stuff. It's harsh. Acids is harsh. Set is intense. He's the aardvark. He's jacking some stuff up. But at the same time, the other part of your body, Haru is in there, and Asar is in there with order, and it is turning that into amino acids and sugars and proteins and all different kinds of things your body needs to function. They're all working together. They're friends of each other. Set is not the enemy of Asar. Asar doesn't hate Set. They work together. One is not destroying the other one. They cannot be destroyed. You cannot kill Asar. Asar is so perfect he cannot exist in this earth. There's only a few dimensions that Asar can stay in because he cannot be destroyed. His principle cannot be destroyed. So in this dimension, he cannot stay here. Haru can only stay a time and then he's replaced. He maintains the principle of Asar and then he's replaced by the next Haru. Who's replaced by the next Haru. Who's replaced by the next Haru. Now Set is always here, just like Geb is always here. Just like Asar is always here. Now he's not really replaced by anything because his principle is older than the others. His principle comes before. Now certain things come out of him, like, out of chaos, sometimes we mourn. We mourn our lost people, so we do funeral rites. Then you get a nupu or Anubis. Anubis is the nectar of mourning, death, how we feel when we lose a close loved one. That's a nupu. Nupu is not necessarily evil. A nupu is when the loved one in the ancient days fell on the battlefield and the person couldn't find them. They're dead out in the desert somewhere. They lived in the desert. So what happened was they sent out a dog. The dog with a sense of smell could kind of smell. They have like a piece of belonging, just like hound dogs do today. And it would smell through the sand. It could smell where the person had been covered up by the sands because they fell in battle. Then they could get a person a proper burial, and then the family could mourn. So the symbol of the dog became symbolic with mourning, with the thought of afterlife, of your loved one, having honor in death. That's what Anupu is about. Anupu is not a warrior. Anupu doesn't kill anything. He's not the nectar that kills. The nectar that kills is Set. The nectar of evil is Apap. Now, Set, killing something is not necessarily evil because I explained the other day the lion has to kill gazelle in order for the lion to live. I mean, everybody says, oh, the bad lion, but that's what the lion has to do. I mean, he has no other choice. He's built that way by nature. He's just doing what he's programmed to do, what the Necharu says that he's supposed to be doing. And his equation in the cosmos, his mathematical problem, or his position in the formula is to work that way. It's a formula. And the formula wouldn't work if he wasn't doing his part. A formula can only work when everybody does their part. So, that is the Necharu. Everything must do their part. One thing cannot abandon its role because somebody thinks that it's not happy, it's not good. It's impossible. It cannot abandon its role. It must carry out its duty, or else the whole thing will fall into chaos. And of course that falls back to Set. So then Set is going to set that, he's going to reset. What Set does, he resets. That's where we get the word Set from, Set. He's like Oya in the Orisha of West Africa. Oya brings on change. Set is like Oya. Now, in West Africa is a feminine principle, and the Kemet principles is a masculine principle. One's a hurricane. They do the similar things, The aardvark destroys the crops of the Nile because that's what those people on the Nile understood. And the people in West Africa, they was hit with hurricanes. That's what they understood when they was explaining that piece of science to their people. Yes, it's science. Yes, it's science. Yes, it's science. Now, does these science, can they speak? Well, if you get into the principle of how to speak to it, the answer to that is yes. But if you don't, just like any other language, if I don't learn French, I can't, if I don't take the time to learn it, I ain't gonna never be able to speak French. I can say parlez-vous français, but if the person starts speaking for real, I'm lost in space. Because I never took the time to get into French, The same thing. If you don't take the time to learn the language of the nature of the Necharu, you're never going to be able to understand the Necharu, ever. But if you want to just get into, okay, I'm just going to stick with what Grandma and Grandpa taught me about what's in the Bible, then that's what you understand. There's principles there too. Those principles are made for a certain type of people that's held in bondage, though. Those principles are made for people who are supposed to be controlled by, I hate to say it, the Roman people were probably the Byzantine people, whoever made the Council of Nicaea. It was mostly made up so people can stop doing the paganism they was doing. When I say paganism, I'm talking about Zeus and Aphrodite and Hermes and all those. They can follow another discipline, another person's school. There are multiple schools, just like I said. This is the Kemet school. There's the Yoruba school. And we talked about the Christian school. Yes, there's school. They have a school too. They have a principal too. Now, you got to understand, though, one is subservient, and the other one is kind of got more liberty to it, where you can be a master too. Now, that person learning to negotiate, whoever set up that school learned to negotiate different. Whatever ancient person set up some other school. So every school is different. Not all schools are the same. Some negotiate on a certain plane, just like people are businessmen. Some businessmen negotiate better when they get that deal. Like Donald Trump, he claims he makes a deal. He claims that other people don't know how to make deals as good as him. Some people are better negotiators than others. Likewise, some spiritual workers are better negotiators, are better people to get deals, to give power, more so than other people. So I'm just default saying, okay, boss, you the boss, just pay me my check, I'm good. I do whatever you say, boss. That's their deal. They the employee. They're not the employer. They don't make any decisions. They're down in the mail room. Boss man say, we're going to be working overtime today. But I want to go back to this party, man. We're going to have this party over there. Boss man said, you got to stay, man. Be that, there's a penalty you're going to pay. All right, boss man, I stay. I like to go to my party, but okay, boss, I hope you understand me. See, that's a different kind of power there. Yeah, he get paid. He has ability to use his paycheck to do things with it. Stuff get done because he bought himself a new Lexus. He got a nice crib. He took his lady on a nice vacation. It's all good. But that's an employee. The guy who's really taking his lady on vacation and having a good time, that's the shot caller. That's the one that he works for. And when that guy say time to do something else, the other one say, that guy said jump, the other one saying ha ha. Very rarely he gonna get that thing some argument. Else he may suffer a penalty. Therefore it's taken very seriously. Because he don't want to suffer that penalty. So you got to kind of understand how stuff works. A lot of times we get involved in stuff we don't even have any clue of how something working.